My name is John Penquet, and this is Ultimate Landlord. Ultimate Landlord is a place and the company that focuses relentlessly on facts, data, market intelligence, and real-world experiences in the property industry. Now, if you're serious about investment, you need serious, relevant information. Get-rich-quick schemes are not for you. You know your goals and your purpose. You're a high performer, you focus on investing, and you need the latest information to stay on top of your game. Ultimate Landlord is here for people like you, people who do this. No get rich quick, more get rich smart. Ultimate Landlord is the place for you to realise your full potential as a property investor. Okay, so hi everybody and welcome to our latest podcast. Really pleased and excited to be talking to my good friends today, Kay and Grant from KG Inspired. They're a revelation in the service accommodation sector. I mean, I met them probably about 3 years ago, and their tenacity and their drive and desire to influence and shape the service accommodation sector has been amazing. Like if you haven't saw what they do yet, or haven't seen what they do yet, you've got to get onto socials and have a look at what they do, because they're just absolutely awesome. So welcome to today's podcast from my kitchen, because I'm still locked down.
Morning.
How are you both doing?
Wonderful. Yeah, all good.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, cool. So this podcast has been recorded at a point of a tipping point, really. We're based in Wales, and we're about to enter what looks like a second period of lockdown. And I think a lot of people are quite afraid of how it's going to affect themselves, but also those of us that are in business in property are a little bit nervous over what happens next. And I think, you know, the main thing from today's podcast is to just see, you know, how you can weather the storm, you can get through this sort of situation, but also to learn a little bit more about how service accommodation works and how it can work for you on your property journey. So I'm going to start off by asking you guys, how on earth did you get into service accommodation in the first place?
Do you want me to explain that?
Yeah.
So basically, me and Kay, we come from a very much a service orientated background. Yeah. So between us, we've got almost 40 years worth of retail management experience. And a lot of that is very much managing lots of different parts, which is what service accommodation is. Yeah. And focusing very, very hard on the end-to-end customer experience, both when they walk through your door to when, you know, you try and entice them to come back again. And, you know, that's sort of always suited us. Kay, both me and Kay, we started as, you know, little salespeople in a shop, way up, you know, store manager, area manager. And I finished my career as a regional manager, basically offering a solution for insurance for 3 large mobile phone companies in the UK. And that's when I ended my career. About 2 years before I left my job, or about a year and a half actually before I left my job, we started our serviced accommodation business. And just before we started our serviced accommodation business, that's when we started going to PIN and met you.
Yeah, cool. So why did you choose service accommodation over some of the other ways of which you can invest in property? What was the big appeal for you guys?
So the main reason is because I didn't really know, personally, I didn't know anything about property, and it didn't interest me at all. It was really Grant's thing. But for this to work, we both needed to do it. First, but both to leave work, we both needed to be in it together. Yeah. And we went on we just basically attended a course that showed us all the different strategies, so I could get my head around what the options were, because I generally knew nothing other than buy-to-let. And serviced accommodation was the one that we both knew we'd be successful in, because we had the most transferable skills. So even though serviced accommodation wasn't your interest, in all fairness, you wanted to do different strategies, didn't you? It was the one that fitted both of us. We knew that I would be coming out of work first because my wage was easier to replace. So it needed to be something that I knew I would be interested in. And serviced accommodation, as Grant just said, from all of our skills that we were able to transfer, that's the one that just sat with me the most comfortabliest. And I just fell into it quite easily, didn't I? So,
Yeah.
And that's why we went into serviced accommodation.
I think that's a really important point, because a lot of people, they think that if you take the step and the leap into property, you've got to relearn loads of new skills, loads of new experience. And actually, the skills and the experience that you've got from your career, or whatever you've done before you started property, a lot of those skills are really transferable. Like you mentioned, you were in the service industry. And is it not obvious that you should go into serviced accommodation? The word's the same, isn't it? But I think a lot of people lose sight of that. A lot of people don't really have enough self-belief. They just don't believe that they can do it. Certainly those that are starting out, and they feel like they've got to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds getting themselves ready to go and start investing. And the truth is, and kind of contradict some of the stuff that I do, because I do training myself. You don't actually need to just spend all that huge amount of money. You've got to have the vision, and you've got to have the sense of purpose to get it started and get moving. And you guys just are proof of that, if ever there was one. I remember you when you were just about to start, when we first met, and I think it's fair to say we were all a bit nervous back then, weren't we? Should we? What should we do? And I was quite new well, not quite new, but I'd only been doing property for a short period of time, and I was learning as well. I think an element of humility and understanding where you are and what you're doing is important as well. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, whatever it is you do, whether that's in property or some other business, it has to sit firm with not only your values, but your why as well, and your purpose for what it is you're looking to achieve. So, I set my goals years before I quit my job and set purpose out. And for a time, my job was fulfilling those values and that purpose. But then I outgrew that.
Yeah.
Got to a stage where I needed to take control at a much bigger level. And that's where, serviced accommodation came in and property came in. But what's really interesting is serviced accommodation teaches you so much about the property industry, irrelevant, because if you focus on serviced accommodation, you need to know property prices, you need to know rental market, you need to know how customers go in and out, you need to analyze the data, you need to know all the bloody roads in your local area. And it's all the same, and all the research I did on property before I'd even heard of serviced accommodation just tied nicely in with it anyways.
And that's what I love about you guys, because that word again, research. So rather than waiting to be told what to do, you guys right from the off just went out there and thought, you know what? We're just going to figure this out. We're going to go and gather all the information, and we're going to make an informed decision on what we do next. And that's, I remember a lot of people were talking about serviced accommodation at the time when you started out, and it was almost like someone had just put the turbo kicked in on your car, and you just flew away from everybody because you'd done your homework, because you'd gathered the data, and because you were knowledgeable. And I think it's fair to say that there's an element of training in that. But I would bet that probably 80% of that was down to the hard work that you guys done. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, do you know what? Whatever you put into something, you get out. And we work really hard. Both myself and Kay, from when we were 14 years old, have worked hard. But the point is we've always worked hard, but throughout the years we've got smarter.
Yeah.
And that's why, I always like to make the point. It's not about working smart. It's not about working hard. It's about working hard and smart, and doing both. In a book that I read, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, I think it was, is rich people think both, poor people think either or. So if you want a rich mindset, and that's not money rich, that's life rich and having rich abundance, you got to think, how can I have both? How can I have exactly what I want, not sacrifice one for the other?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more there. Couldn't agree more. And mind, you're a big fan of mindset as well. I know I've heard you speak on mindset a few times. So, you think it's important or not? I mean, that is a properly loaded question. But what do you reckon? Mindset important?
I think you're getting me going now.
Reel it in.
Yeah, I know. I think there's three things that are vital to success, and and because it's success, I like to keep things simple. So it's the three S's. So it's all about your state of mind and how you go into something. So like if you go into something with a negative state of mind, you're going to have a negative impact on whatever it is you're doing. If you go into something with a positive state of mind, you're going to have a positive impact on whatever it is you're doing. Yeah. The next thing is your story or your belief mechanics within your head. So if you believe you can do something, you open up the possibility of you being able to do it. And that's the stories that you tell up here. Can you or can't you? Have you ever heard the quote, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you're right. And that's your belief mechanics. So you need those two things first. Unless you have those two things, you're not going to be as successful as you should be. And the last thing is your strategy. So the last S is your strategy. So being able to know the way that you're going to be able to achieve it. But if you have a great strategy, but you've got a negative mindset and you keep telling yourself you can't do it, you ain't achieve it. Right? You've got all these people going out and about learning all this strategy stuff, thinking it's going to actually get them the result that they want, but they keep telling themselves they can't do it, and they keep thinking negatively about it.
That's why. That's why. I mean, in Ultimate Land, that's why I went away from being full-time property and full-time property investing, full-time estate agency, and said, you know what, I actually need to help others through Ultimate Landlord. So I had to sort of move those into more of a part-time sort of focus and make Ultimate Landlord more of a full-time focus, because you're absolutely right. Mindset, if you're not in the right frame of mind and you're not doing things in the right way, you can have the best strategy in the world, but it's going to fail. And I'm really passionate about the fact that strategy is not just I buy serviced accommodation for cash flow, or I'm flipping properties to increase my available funds, or I'm gonna JV was. I mean, it's just they're all just bloody words. They don't make any sense. You've got to have a goal, you've got to have a reason, purpose, whatever you want to call it, and then you've got to work towards it. And Ultimate Landlord, a lot of the time that I spend with my clients training them it is all mindset. It's just getting you geared up and ready. It's almost like the foundation to build a house on. You ain't got the foundation, you can have the best looking, best spec'd house in the world, but it'll fall down. And that's really what I see firsthand, and I hear second and third hand. But I think more crucially than anything else, you're passionate about it, and you've demonstrated. It's not just words. You've shown and you've demonstrated that by following that process and having that focus in your business means that you've been able to not just replace one salary, you've replaced two salaries. Because I'm right in saying you're both now full-time service accommodation. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah. And there's been lots of challenges along the way. This is the thing is, if you rewind 3 years, I was sitting there watching videos and podcasts of people that have been successful at whatever business they were trying to do, and they'd left their jobs and things like that. And you get inspired by those people, but actually you sit there thinking, to a degree sometimes, oh wow, it seems like it's so easy. how did you get there so quick, and all that sort of stuff. But by God, it's cost us money, it's cost us time, it's cost us sleep. It's cost us blood, sweat and tears at times. It's difficult to explain those experiences. It's so easy to shout about all the positive stuff, and you know what, we've done absolutely brilliant, but in my mind, if you're not earning, you're learning, right? And you've got to see the negative stuff as not negative. You've got to see them as positive, but not earning you any money.
It's experience. It's free training.
And do you know what? 70% of your training is experience. 20% is coaching and mentoring, and 10% is courses, right?
Yeah.
So you go on a course, well done, you're 10% there.
But look at how much people invest. It's almost the inverse of that, isn't it? They invest all their time in their training and don't spend any time on any of the other things. You know, and I mean, we started earlier on in the conversation talking about the fact that what you did is you went out and you learned everything you could possibly learn, gathered all of that information, because you need to be the most experienced property person. Doesn't matter what your strategy is, you need to have that information, that pool of knowledge together, and you went out and you did it. And I think that's the bit that that's the big opportunity for a lot of people, especially now, because, you know, let's get the elephant in the room is it's really bloody hard at the moment to rent properties, to buy properties, to sell properties, to run a service accommodation business, to run an HMO in a student population. It's really hard at the moment, I think it's fair to say. And I think your point about, do you know what, if you're not earning, you are learning, is that's the massive opportunity now. Now is the time where you gather all that information in, and it informs you for what happens, you know, over the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months. Because I strongly believe, and I see it in the data as well, that there is this pent up demand and desire to do things differently. It's kind of it's not like anything else what we're going through now that's happened in our lifetimes. And people are ready for change now. People aren't going to sit back and just do what they've always done. So I think, I think most of us that are involved in service and property need to you know, just really take that leap of faith and just go for it, and just really focus on what you do next. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but I certainly.
Yeah, totally. I think you know, part of being successful in business, and this is why I've always liked actually your presentations at PIN meetings and the stuff that you've done, is being successful at business is all about anticipating the future. And we can never have a crystal ball to know exactly what's going to happen, otherwise we'd have lottery winners all
Yeah,
you know,
card investors, I call them.
That's right. Well, that's why Warren Buffett is so successful, is because he you know, can anticipate the future better than a lot of people can. And actually, if you want to take it in a really simple term, something that I learned from Jim Rohn, you know, it's actually Tony Robbins' mentor. He talks about seasons, and he says there's 4 seasons in a year, right? You know, there's going to be a winter, you know, there's going to be an autumn, you know, there's going to be a summer, you know, there's going to be a spring. So in the spring, you need to get ready for the summer because you're going to absolutely smash it, right? And in the autumn, you need to get ready for the winter because it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So that happens in business, you know, and these peaks and troughs, and just be prepared for them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think there's going to be winners and losers and all this. The winners are those that have gone out and gathered what they need for the next season, for spring, let's say. The amount of opportunity I see in data at the moment, you know, just I mean, a good example is lockdown areas. Lockdown areas, we're not at the moment. It's on a local level. Those areas that go into lockdown, all of the transactions, all of the movement within the industry slows down to a halt. And then when those areas come back out of restrictions or lockdown, we're going to see that, well, everybody uses the word pent up demand. I don't really like it, but I'm going to use it for this example. That pent up demand is suddenly going to explode onto the scene at a local level. That is going to push values, rental values, property price values up, and sentiment will change because it'll go away from being negative. It'll go toward ultra positive because, oh gosh, these areas are performing really well. So understanding that and looking out for that locally and where you invest is important, and understanding what types of property and what types of business strategies are going to work really well. Because that opportunity is massive, but yet we're all here with our sort of shoulders slumped, and we're looking down at our feet thinking, gosh, you know what, this is just really horrible. And it is really horrible. But, you know, putting my business hat on, never before, as far back as I can think, and I've been started investing in the early 2000s. I've been really serious about it for about 10 years. I've never seen a time when there's been more change, and where there's change as opportunity than right now. So I'm really, really fired up and excited for next year. I really think there's huge opportunity. And speaking of opportunity, tell us about your business a bit more, about what you do and why you're different in SA.
Well, do you want to talk about what we do?
So
You do it.
it's quite simple. It's SA is basically we provide a short stay accommodation for people mainly in Swansea. We do have other locations, but that's where we started. So that's where the bulk of our business is. We work closely with landlords, and we have some clients on board that we've had on board since day one. We've got a team of 4 employees now. I'm losing track now. 2 fees in the Philippines and about 7 cleaning companies that work with us.
Cool.
I don't know if we're different to anybody else. I think what works for me, and I don't, SA is SA.
But being a landlord and renting out a single let house is just being a landlord renting out a single let house. Your standards, you set a standard far higher than a lot of people that I know.
Well, you say that, but that's just standard for us. So, what we are delivering is what we would expect. And to me and Grant, that's just the norm. That's not something that I think is anybody else would want to do any differently. We just work really well as a team. Grant is excellent at communicating with the clients, the landlords, getting the deals, the investors, the numbers, and I just go and do the doey bit,
bit. I'm
on the ground.
But the doey bit's the big bit, because if I go and stay in serviced accommodation, the most important thing for me actually is the service that I get. So that comes down to the way in which the property is presented, yes, and the standard of the fit and finish. But it's the small things that really matter to me as well, like the little extra bits, spending a bit more on linen so that it's nice, and making sure that everything's easily accessible and being easy to contact. All those things are massive for me, and I think that's where you guys just smash it versus anyone else. I think I'm a bit.
That's it, isn't it? It is all about the little things, and all the little things make a one big thing. We've stayed in other serviced accommodation units, and there is certain things that other people don't do that we do, and we pick up a lot of things along the way. We use hotel quality linen, like you say. Kay designs them very, very well. We make sure that the cleaners don't slip at all. We hire on the ground operations people, so we've got an operations manager and a head of maintenance now that go around making sure that the properties are as good as they possibly can be. We're deploying customer data that we can get more customer data through, like the Wi-Fi connection as an example. I guarantee you that lots of other serviced accommodation operators aren't doing and understanding their customer base probably as well as we do. But there are lots of people out there that do a very, very good job. But if you don't look at every tiny little bit of detail of your business, irrelevant of what business it is, you're not maximizing everything that you can possibly do.
It's that final 20% that delivers 80% of the value. The old Pareto again. 20% of it is 80% of the perceived value. I know. If I go shopping and someone's really polite to me and serving me when I'm shopping, I'm inclined to go back. Why am I inclined to go back? Not because the shelves are really smart, or that it's got really high-end lighting in the shop, or I don't know, it's really large, or whatever it might be. The main thing for me is that extra bit of service that I get at the end. When someone asks me how I am, or offers me a sample to try, or says hello to my kids, whatever it is, it's just that little thing, that bit that you don't expect that you get, that I think carries the most value.
There's always usually one or two things with everyone that usually pips it over the edge. And if you're not covering those one or two things, it doesn't pip you over the edge and to make you think either that was all right or that was really good. And there's always that one or two things. Like, as an example, I've booked a property on the other side of the country, where we're going today. And it's been fine. Like, their communication, electronic communication, very, very good. The way that they've shown me everything, they've been really proactive and all that sort of stuff. I've not had a human telephone call yet, right? One thing that we do is we have a 3-point human contact with, isn't electronic. So like they'll get a call 1 or 2 days before they check in to talk to them about everything, you know, to talk to them about everything and make sure they have everything that they need, not just it's been communicated via an email or a text message. They get a call in mid-stay to make sure that everything is okay, to make sure that if there's anything that we can do. Now, obviously, most people would think, oh, well, if something's wrong, let me know. Well, what if something's good? You know, and you don't get that from people unless you speak to them over the phone. And then, you know, a call at the end of their stay to make sure that, you know, they were happy and to see if they ever, you know, are interested in coming back again. And that's why that's one thing that we do, you know, that 3-point human interaction. But just an example of something that I've noticed that you don't get as much with serviced accommodation.
And it doesn't cost.
To systemize it.
Yeah, I can't be bothered with utter nonsense. People buy people at the end of the day. People
Absolutely
really do buy people, and I know. I mean, it's funny enough. You're making me think back to the occasions when I've stayed in SA, and you know, thinking back to I had a stay in London, and I didn't speak to a single person for the entire time I was there, and it was a really nice experience. But I just didn't feel inclined to recommend it or because I just didn't get. It was just like working with a robot versus sort of working with an individual that I really enjoyed, or a person that I really enjoyed my stay with. So that's really interesting. It's made me think. Goodness me, it actually made me think. God, you know what? I need to do a little bit more talking on to my tenants as well, because I can be a bit aloof sometimes. Oh, now you've made me scared now.
It's just again, you know, you learn things over your career. And, I walked into my shop once on my day off, and I was wearing a T-shirt that said, "I'll buy something from you if I like you," to try and impact, you know, the team there, just to make sure that they were, you know, being as nice as they could to every single person that walked through the door. And I think having a shop mentality, you know, from our background, we view our properties like shops. So when someone walks through the door, we want them to have a fantastic welcome. Now, because we're not there welcoming them as they come in, we need to have that over the phone, you know, telephone communication with them.
It's funny that, because I've just ordered a car as well, and a new car, and when I was trying to get the deal, I was doing a lot of online searches, and I was getting quotes back and the like. And the company that I'd gone with is the company, or the person that phoned me up. They phoned me on my mobile, the only company that did, and asked, you know, what is it that I want? Is there anything else that they could help with? Would I like to add anything to the vehicle? Would I like to consider some other options? And they talked me through some other options. And I think they were about the third or fourth best value, so they weren't the cheapest. But because I got that level of service from them, I thought, do you know what? They're getting my business. And it's a couple of pounds difference for me, but I just felt like I wanted to give them my business. And it's hard to explain why, but I think that's human behavior. Is we don't just value the commodity or the item, we value the people that are providing it as well. And it's all about that community, and more so now than anything else, with the lack of human interaction and the locking down and not seeing people. I think it's really important. So if anyone's listening to this podcast and is feeling like they need a bit of inspiration, there's some inspiration for you. Stop bloody talking to people.
Do you know what? It's our number one rule within our business.
Yeah.
You know, with every aspect of it. So like the digital world is amazing because it opens up so many different avenues, and we wouldn't be able to manage our business without all the online apps. And
of course,
to systemize things. And, you know, you've obviously got a way of analyzing data, which you use digital platforms to do. Mm-hmm. And it opens up so many avenues, but use digital for the benefits that it gives you. Don't lose the human interaction.
Yeah, I see that digital element is that's sort of like you saying hello. It's like the new hello is you know, hi, you know, how many friends have you got on Facebook, for example, or how many people are in a group that you contribute to on social media. But then you've got if you're gonna you can say hello to and introduce yourself to everyone, but then you've got to have a conversation, and I think the conversation can't be delivered through the social media channels effectively. I think it can be on a one-to-one basis initially, but not one-to-many, and even on one-to-one, I think you've got to get past the keyboard or the screen, and you've got to get to actually talking to the person directly. Certainly, in Ultimate Landlord, we've gone from sort of a zero. We had no clients about 18 months ago, and we've gone to several thousand clients now just by having that approach to that personal approach, understanding what it is you need, what it is you want. So it's nice to see that the great minds think alike.
Well, that's it.
So what are you doing next year, guys? I take it you're not planning anything too far ahead with the way things are at the moment. But what are your plans for 2021? What do you want to do?
Well, 2021, like yourself, I see it as a massive opportunity. When we're in times of, I'm going to say struggle, but not struggle. But when we're in times of struggle, we want to learn how we can do better as a business, to use that additional time that we've got to train our team and to make things better within our business. But next year, the anticipation of just coming out of lockdown and people being able to travel freely around the UK is, we want to be prepared for that. We've hired 3 more people recently. We're utilizing them and training them as best as we possibly can at the moment, but we'll be ready next year to literally all guns blazing. We're deploying a new marketing strategy into our Wi-Fi, which is going to be a game changer. But not just customer data capture, but for reviews and monitoring what's going on inside the property. One of the biggest challenges of serviced accommodation is people not paying for the amount of people that are staying in the property. And the more and more properties you get, the more difficult it is to monitor every single camera that you've got, right? You don't know whether someone's brought 4 people or 5 people when they've only paid for 3. So, we want to know when that happens as well, understand our customers better and just really absolutely nail it. I mean, we're sitting right now at this moment in time, we've got about 45 units. There's a couple more that are going on. We set a target September last year before lockdown that we were going to be at 50 by the end of this year. So lockdown hasn't. Sorry, yeah, 5 more. So lockdown hasn't really stunted that growth, which is really, really good.
I think the important thing to remember when you're in business and you've got your goals is don't falter from them. Even though we set out last year that we wanted to be on 50 by the end of this year, it wasn't the 50 that we wanted, it was the revenue that it's going to get us, and that's not changed. That number is still our goal. Just because COVID happened hadn't stopped us from achieving it. It may have slowed us down. We had to go about it differently to get the result that we want, but the goal that we're after has remained the same. We've not changed it, and because of that, we've found ways to achieve what we want to achieve, irrelevant of the situation around us. And if you are 100% committed to your goals, you will achieve them, irrelevant of the factors that are impacting you. You've got the right focus on it.
Oh, I completely agree. Couldn't agree more. We're so aligned. It's ridiculous, to be honest. It's almost like you sit in my office every day. I sit in yours. Cool. So I think if anyone's listening to this and thinking, do you know what, I need to get involved in SA, would it be fair to say that what would be your first bit of advice to them if they're thinking of a career as an SA operator?
Understand where you want to get to with it first, because it can take a totally different route, whatever your goals might be. So, like as an example, and this is fresh, so I'll talk to you about it. I had a conversation with someone that wants to get into SA yesterday, and after he messaged me saying, "Oh, can you source me a unit in Swansea?" That was his message to me, and I was like, "Let's have a chat." right? You know, I'm not going to say what I can do for you unless we talk.
Human interaction, fair play.
Absolutely. So we have a chat, and it turns out that the reason why he wants to have SA in Swansea is so that they can use that credibility of having serviced accommodation units to source units where they are. Okay. So then turned into a conversation around, well, what is it he's looking to achieve? And he basically wanted to operate a similar model to what we're operating in Swansea. So I was like, well, why don't I teach you how to do that? And then you can use our credibility in Swansea to say that we're branching out into your area. And you use our credibility anyways, because I'm training you, I'm teaching you. And he was like, that's a fantastic idea. I was like, what would you prefer? Pay me £4,000, £6,000 to source you a couple units, or do you want to pay me a couple grand and I'll teach you how to do it? Yeah. And it actually turns out that the area that he's operating in is an area that I know very well as well. So just by having that conversation and understanding his goals, we managed to come to a solution that's actually going to get him there, as opposed to just doing something that isn't really going to have a massive amount of impact. Understand where it is you want to get to, and then speak to someone that has the experience that you think will be able to help you, and that can give you the time of day.
Awesome. I mean, if you weren't inspired at the start of this, you're certainly, I'm hoping, inspired at the end, and obviously inspired is in your business title. Your business title.
Yeah.
So inspired all round. What I'm going to do with this podcast, I'm going to put some links just on the bottom of this video. I would encourage you to reach out and talk to Kay and to Grant, because they're absolutely blinging awesome. There just isn't enough time to talk about all the awesome stuff that they do, and you know, they're a big part of they've been a big part of my journey, and they're a big part of a lot of people's journey. So you know, they're an inspiration. They're excellent at what they do, and you should really take an interest in what they do. And also, if you come in to see us at Ultimate Landlord, I know a lot of people, when we're not in lockdown, travel down to Swansea and spend time on our one-day workshops or our evening events and the other things that we do. If you are coming down to Swansea, before you think to yourself, do you know what, let's book a hotel or something like that, contact KG Inspired and book one of their service accommodation units, because it's awesome, and you just should, because you'll learn from that. So not only will you be getting a great deal on a place to stay, but you'll also be getting additional education, because they really show you how to do it right. So I hope you don't mind me plugging you there, guys.
Thank you. And if anyone knows anyone that wants to stay in Swansea, we're happy to pay you 5% of the referral as well.
Oh, cool. There you go, guys. So free money as well.
There you go. If you know anyone that's not stayed with us before, you'll get 5% of their first booking with us.
Well, I certainly think that there'll be a lot of people who are interested in learning more about what you do and seeing what you do firsthand, because it's all well and good talking about these sorts of things. And another frustration of mine with our industry is we talk a good job, but do we actually deliver it? I think a lot of people don't. And you're out there offering, you know what, come and see what we do, come and talk to us about what we do. I'll help and I'll support and I'll deliver that to you. That's your message, and I think that's what makes you head and shoulders above anyone else. So it's again, and I use the word a little bit too much on this podcast, but it's an inspiration talking to you guys, and I hope everyone else is feeling inspired. And all that remains really is to say thank you to you guys for coming on today and chatting to everyone and giving your wealth of experience and knowledge. It's absolutely brilliant.
Thank you for having us on. Definitely.
Thanks both.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for joining me on today's podcast and for being part of the new generation of property investors that act on fact and insight and data-led intelligence. I really want to talk to you, and I really want to share the experience that I've had and others in our movement have had. So please do reach out and talk to me and to the team and the community in Ultimate Landlord. We're really easy to find on social media. All you got to do is search for Ultimate Landlord and you'll find us. But you can also email us if you prefer. That's info@ultimate-landlord.com. All it remains to say, I'll see you in a future podcast, and don't forget to subscribe and follow us.